Hey everyone, Chris Bennett here, your blockchain beard guy. Hope you guys are having an awesome day, awesome week. I know it looks like I'm coming to you in the middle of winter from the UK, but this is actually Colorado on a July summer day, very gray, foggy day. But I'm not here to talk about the weather. I wanted to talk to you guys today about a really interesting article I came across this week by Brett Scott, talking about something called Presentist History. You know, one of the most fascinating things, at least to me, about getting involved with blockchain and Web3 and cryptocurrencies is it forces you to re-examine a lot of concepts that we all kind of take for granted and think we understand. And maybe one of the biggest of those is this question, what is money? Now, if you walk up to just about anybody on the street and you tap them on the shoulder and you go, excuse me, do you know what money is? Most people look at you like you're kind of crazy. Yeah, of course. Everybody knows what money is. But try and define it. Try and explain it to someone else. And you'll find out that this concept you thought you understood very well is actually kind of nebulous and hard to define. One of the most influential people for me to kind of understand economics and how all this fits into the cryptocurrency space has been Brett Scott. And he wrote a really interesting article this week. I'll put a link down below so you guys can go check it out yourself. It talks about a concept that I've kind of intuitively felt for a long time, but never really had the words to describe. And then Brett comes along and puts a perfect label on it. Something called Presentist History. And he says, you know, this is the kind of history that historians hate, but economists love. And you'll see how this all ties back into where money came from here in a minute. But he says there's 7 steps to creating a presentist history version of the world. And he uses this great example about cars. What was the origin of cars? So let's say that you live in a big city and you live maybe 40 miles away from your office. And so every day you get in your car and you drive an hour to the office and an hour back. Well, if we want to create a presentist history version of where automobiles come from, it's this 7-step process. In step 1, we take our present day situation and we map it back to the past. So we assume in the past, before cars existed, you still would have lived 30 or 40 miles from work. Step 2 is we take out the thing, we remove from the picture the thing we want to invent. In this case, it's a car or an automobile. So what would the world look like if you had to travel this enormous distance, but you didn't have a car? You had to walk or ride a bike. We don't change any other features of the story or the landscape or the imaginary world. And then we go ahead and call this altered version of the world the past. Then we note how annoying all this is. Can you imagine having to walk 40 miles to the office every single day, or ride a bike, or ride your scooter or something like that? That would be very, very annoying. And because this is so annoying and cumbersome and troublesome, that's the reason why cars were invented. So we reintroduce this thing we removed from the picture. And then finally in step 7, Brett says the thing here is you don't ask the obvious question. You don't point out the fact that you only created this hypothetical scenario to reintroduce the thing you artificially removed. If we think about this example of cars, right? Before cars, nobody or practically nobody was working 40 miles away from home. Things happened much more locally. When cars came along and it became more convenient for people to travel large distances, that's when things started getting so spread out. And Brett applies this model to the origin of money. Now, there's this story that I think we all kind of learn in Econ 101 about where money came from. And we hear about the coincidence of wants. What happens if I'm a baker and you're a cobbler? You need bread and I need shoes. And so what do? We barter. Well, that works great if there's something economists call a coincidence of wants, right? All this works out if you happen to want bread and I happen to want shoes. But what happens if I've already got a good pair of shoes, I don't need a new one, but you're hungry? This could be problematic. And so we're told this is the origin of money, right? Money came along to solve this coincidence of wants problem. Well, if we look at the presentist history breakdown of this, what we're really talking about with money is we have strangers who are exchanging goods and services for money. If we take that last part out, we have strangers exchanging goods and services. And we note how inconvenient this is because of the coincidence of wants. So then we reinsert money into the picture and claim that's its origin story. The truth is, if you look at history and anthropology, before money, there really wasn't a lot of trading with strangers going on. Most trading was happening in small groups where there were personal relationships built and different types of value were being exchanged. And this kind of aligns with something I've thought with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies for a long time. If you're trying to figure out whether something like Bitcoin is a currency, spoiler alert, it's not, you might be tempted to look at this coincidence of wants scenario. My opinion on this has always been that money has to be a tool or a creature of the state. Money cannot exist without the state. And that is because we as humans give the state a monopoly on violence. If there's no state and we're just going to go trade, what's to stop me from just clubbing you over the head and taking all your stuff, or you doing the same thing to me? So it was really interesting hearing Brett break this all down and give it an official label, Presentist History, that I'd never been aware of. Like I said, Brett's been one of those people who's really been fundamental in my understanding of crypto economics and just economics in general. He's someone I really recommend you follow and check in with for time to time. But what do you guys think? Right? Is cryptocurrency really a money? What is the origin story of money? Was it really developed to solve this coincidence of wants problem? Or do you agree with this presentist history view that we're simply making up a narrative to conveniently explain something whose origin story is a little bit more complex? Like always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hope you guys are having a great week. Until next time, this is Chris Bennett, your blockchain beard guy. Be good to each other.